They never freeze up. It's just the water is constantly flowing through them, and no matter what temperature, it never freezes. I gotta fill up jugs now. I can't just sit here and talk about water all day. I gotta get...
Atz Lee Kilcher, once a beloved star of Alaska, The Last Frontier, has been sentenced following a wave of serious allegations. Accusations of misconduct on and off-screen have clouded his rugged image. The long-running show's sudden cancellation only fueled speculation, with many blaming him directly. However, what happened? What are the truths behind the allegations and his sentencing? Stay with us as we unravel the downfall of Atz Lee Kilcher's legal battles. Atz Lee Kilcher is well known for starring in the Discovery show Alaska, The Last Frontier alongside his family. The show followed the Kilcher family who lived deep in the Alaskan wilderness, far from modern conveniences, as they hunted, fished, and farmed to survive the brutal winters and showed what it truly meant to live off the land. Atz Lee Kilcher always seemed fearless on screen and nothing could shake him. In the show, he was always seen climbing cliffs, building cabins in remote areas, or hunting in freezing temperatures. But behind the camera, his life took a shocking turn. And even though he was someone who could stand in the face of danger, nothing prepared him for what he was about to face. As the show's seasons rolled on, fans noticed something had shifted in Atz Lee, and he seemed more withdrawn. Then came the legal issues that eventually led to one of the most dramatic changes in the show's history. For someone who had built his entire life on survival and resilience, facing a courtroom was something he never expected to weigh him down. Now, let's dig into the events that led Atz Lee into legal trouble, the off-camera incidents, and the allegations against him. So, what exactly happened to him? Let's find out what it was all about. The first signs of trouble came when he was involved in a serious accident that almost claimed his life in June 2015. Atz Lee was hiking in Otter Cove when he fell off a cliff that was nearly 40 feet high. People thought he had lost his life because his injuries were critical. He broke his arm because of the direct fall and even punctured both of his lungs. Not only this, but the fall also broke his ankles, hips, and cracked a couple of ribs. It was a life-and-death situation, and Atz Lee spent months in the hospital and even longer in recovery. It was a traumatic experience, not just for Atz Lee, but for the whole Kilcher family. How did the accident happen? Atz Lee had been hiking in Otter Cove with his friend Mark, but it got dark while they were still walking. In the darkness, he mistakenly lost footing and slipped off the cliff. Luckily, Mark had a satellite phone with him, so he called for help. The paramedics arrived quickly by helicopter and rushed him to the hospital for treatment. If it weren't for Mark, the situation would have been much more critical. On the other hand, Jane revealed how she knew about her husband's accident. She explained that she received a phone call in the middle of the night when Atz Lee went hiking with his friend. She was informed about her husband's fall when she answered the call. His wife Jane shared the news of his accident on Facebook, and Atz eventually gave his fans an update on his health and also shared photos of himself and his x-rays from his hospital bed. After a full year since his fall, he posted another photo of himself from the hospital bed, captioning it with a lot of inspiration. He started by saying that the accident had truly humbled him, and although the past year had been challenging for him, he was still thankful because he was with his family and friends. He also thanked his fans in the end as they had been constantly wishing him well. He added that his injuries are also healing gradually, although there were many of them. The accident forced him to slow down. He couldn't hunt or build like before, and he couldn't film the way he used to. This time away from the show sparked concern among fans. But Atz Lee tried to stay connected through social media, posting updates on his progress and expressing gratitude to those who supported him. But here's where the controversy starts. Atz Lee decided to sue the Otter Cove resort where he fell. He requested $100,000 in compensation for the damage the incident had caused him. He claimed that the incident would have been avoided if the authorities had hung a proper warning sign on the resort. He also accused the resort of not having safety precautions for the visitors and called it very deceptive. The response from the resort management was as expected. They refused to take any responsibility for the fall, claiming that the accident was caused by Atz Lee's negligence while hiking. Even though the fall was a terrible moment in his life, it wasn't the beginning of his legal troubles. That would come later in a way no one expected. What offense did Atz Lee commit? Let's get into what led him there. Atz Lee joined a black bear hunting trip in a remote part of Alaska in 2014. But instead of hiking into the wilderness like most hunters, the group used a helicopter to access the area. In Alaska, that's a serious problem. The state has strict laws protecting wildlife and fair chase hunting. It is illegal to use helicopters for hunting, whether for spotting, tracking, or transporting hunters, hunting gear, or unprocessed game to and from the field. Authorities from the Alaska State Troopers launched an investigation after receiving tips about the flight. Charging documents said that he and the other Kilchers were transported by helicopter to Bradley Lake in September 2014 to hunt for black bears as part of an episode later broadcast in January 2015. The production company that filmed the episode, Wilma TV, was also charged with a misdemeanor hunting violation for using an unlawful method to take or attempt to take game. A year later in 2015, Atz Lee was charged with unlawful hunting practices, a violation under Alaska's wildlife regulations. But how did the authorities know that the Kilchers had violated the hunting law? Who was the whistleblower? According to Alaska State Troopers spokeswoman Megan Peters, a former employee of a production company tipped troopers off about the illegal hunt. He was a Homer man hired by Wilma TV to work as a medic on the set of the filming. Wilma, the TV producer, warned the medic not to tell the helicopter company contracted for the filming that there would be hunting. The medic did not work on the project and eventually tipped off Alaska wildlife trooper Trent Trialkowski about the supposed hunting in September 2014. When Trialkowski saw the episode Fall Bear Fall in January 2015 showing the Kilchers shooting at a black bear, he quickly remembered the report and contacted the helicopter company. The company confirmed flying the Kilchers and the production crew to Bradley Lake, but stated that they were not aware of a planned hunting trip. Trialkowski spoke with two Wilma TV producers and they informed him that they had used a float plane to hunt in an earlier episode and believed using a helicopter would be the same and not an issue. When Trialkowski interviewed Atz Lee Kilcher, he revealed that he had been under pressure from the producers to get a bear. Even when he told the producers that it was illegal to go over by helicopter, they said he should just go and it would work out. Kevin Fitzgerald, the Kilchers' lawyer, said they didn't commit a crime because the charge against them was about them hunting down a black bear, but they never hunted the bear. The episode purported to show the Kilchers going after an animal, but there was no attempt to take that specific animal. Fitzgerald concluded, sometimes, even reality TV isn't what actually occurs. The court records, however, showed that Atz Lee wasn't accused of actually shooting a bear from the helicopter. Instead, the charge focused on using aircraft to transport himself for hunting. Atz Lee cooperated fully in court and didn't argue against the fact, but explained the situation from his point of view. He said he didn't intend to break the law and only used the helicopter to scout the land, but wasn't actively hunting during the flight. But in legal terms, intention doesn't erase the violation. The court ruled that by using a helicopter to access a hunting location, Atz Lee had broken the law. In a sentencing hearing on February 16, 2015, Homer District Court Judge Margaret Murphy handed down a sentence that included a $1,500 fine against Lee Kilcher. Wilma TV was also fined $17,500 for the violation. This case didn't attract much national attention at first, but the news was shocking for longtime viewers of Alaska, the last frontier. The Discovery Channel did not make a public statement about the case, and the show continued filming, but something about the show changed. At that time, no one knew what was happening behind the scenes. After the sentencing, fans noticed Atz Lee went silent for a while. His Instagram, which once showed hunting trips, building projects, and family moments, became quiet. It was when the wild man of Alaska was reminded that no one is above the law, even if they live off the grid. It also reminded viewers that reality TV doesn't always show the whole picture. Despite the relatively light legal sentence, the case marked a turning point in the show's production. Moving forward from the bad publicity, the case wasn't easy for the show. It began to seem like Alaska, the last frontier, was coming to a gradual end. Fans wondered if the court case affected his slow departure from the show. The Discovery Channel never confirmed whether the legal issue affected their production, but the timeline was hard to ignore. From the outside, it looked like they had everything under control. But by 2022, fans received shocking news. Alaska, The Last Frontier had come to an abrupt end. The sudden end sparked numerous questions as many fans wondered why such a show would be cut short. Was it the legal trouble that led to the show being taken out of production? Was it the ratings? Or was something deeper going on behind the scenes? Now, let's uncover why Alaska, The Last Frontier ended. Why Alaska, The Last Frontier ended. When Alaska, The Last Frontier aired on December 29, 2011, on the Discovery Channel, it quickly became a hit. The fans watched the Kilcher family who lived deep in the Alaskan wilderness battle harsh winters, survive without modern conveniences, and hold tight to traditions passed down through generations. But after 11 seasons on air, the show was unexpectedly cancelled in 2022. There was no official explanation from the channel, leaving fans with the question, why did it end? To understand why Alaska, The Last Frontier was cancelled, we must look beyond the cameras and into the lives of the people who made it what it was. The truth is that it wasn't just one single reason that led to it. It was a mix of controversy, personal struggles, network shifts, and serious allegations involving the production team and some of its biggest stars. Let's start with the obvious. Life in the Alaskan wilderness is hard. Alaska is called the last frontier because it is a vast and wild state that boasts an extreme climate, untamed landscapes with more than 663,000 square miles of rugged mountains, icy beaches, glacier, dense forests, and Arctic tundra. So, what we saw on screen was real. The Kilchers had to fight to stay warm, hunt for food, and prepare for the long, harsh winters. Over the years, the family encountered numerous challenges and adversities. They endured harsh weather conditions and often encountered wild animals. However, the cameras didn't always capture the toll it took on the cast, both physically and emotionally. A notable reason the show allegedly ended is the divorce of Lee Kilcher and Jane. As one of the show's most beloved couples, their relationship wasn't just a personal bond, but a theme that resonated with viewers. The couple had been part of the show since its inception, and their connection with the rest of the Kilchers was an undeniable part of what made the show appealing. Without their partnership, the show would have lost a significant portion of its audience. Since the show is about family life, Atz Lee's and Jane's divorce makes the renewal challenging because if either of them is less involved, it might disrupt the storyline from the family bond to the divorce. Another factor that might have contributed to the show's end is Otto's life-threatening injury. Fans of Alaska, The Last Frontier will remember Otto as the family patriarch on the show. He was in charge of handling cows and doubled as a self-taught mechanic. During an extreme Alaskan snowstorm, Otto was caught tending to the cows when the weather conditions were particularly harsh, and as a result, one of the cows accidentally trampled him. The accident left him severely wounded with multiple injuries, including broken ribs, punctured lungs, a fractured arm, and other internal and external wounds. His condition was so severe that his wife Charlotte couldn't visit him in the hospital due to the critical care restrictions in place. Luckily, he responded to the treatment and recovered on time. But the recovery process wasn't easy. Unfortunately, it was risky for him to be exposed again to the wildlife they live with on the show. Therefore, Otto's injury likely contributed to the issue. As a key figure on the show, his reduced ability to fully participate in the homesteading lifestyle may have influenced the show producer's decision to cancel the show. Another primary reason why the Discovery Channel cancelled the show was due to the shifting viewer trends. In the early 2010s, there was an influx of survival and homesteading shows because viewers were fascinated by people living off the grid, especially in secluded environments. They loved the freedom and the closeness to nature. Alaska, The Last Frontier fit perfectly into that wave. However, viewers' interest began to shift some years later. New reality shows also emerged and took center stage, drawing the audience's attention. They were interested in documentaries with new genres like true crime, docuseries, and high-budget streaming dramas. Ratings of reality shows like The Last Frontier slowly began to decline, and the Discovery Channel had to decide what to keep and what to cut, and they chose to let the show go. There's also the financial side. The production of Alaska, The Last Frontier was in Alaska, and producing a show in a remote location is quite expensive. The expenses of flying crews in and out, dealing with extreme weather conditions, and transporting equipment were high. Unlike other reality shows in urban areas, they also didn't have easy access to studios or technical support. Producing a season of the show required several months of preparation and coordination. The production team had a tight budget, and with the rising production costs in the TV industry, The Last Frontier became a costly project to maintain. However, perhaps the most crucial reason for the show's quiet ending lies in the growing number of legal battles associated with the Kilcher family, especially those involving Atz Lee. The show's production team and some of its stars were caught up in a case with regulatory bodies in Alaska for violations and breaches of hunting ethics. Atz Lee was directly involved in these allegations and faced a lawsuit, which resulted in him and the production team being sentenced to pay a fine. The controversy surrounding this lawsuit cast a shadow over the show. As a result, the excitement of filming began to fade, and it became increasingly difficult to maintain the same energy that had once drawn millions to their story. In addition, they lost many viewers. Alaska, The Last Frontier still had a loyal fan base, but the numbers weren't what they used to be after the court case. The combination of falling ratings and growing legal battles made it clear the show was no longer a top priority. Atz Lee in particular opened up later about how the legal issues he faced and the public's criticism took a toll on his mental health. Many of his posts on social media at that time were about how the weight of constantly defending his actions had become overwhelming. He expressed those who stood by him and hinted that stepping back from the show was essential for his well-being, peace of mind, and the rest of the Kilcher clan. During the case, the Kilchers faced internal pressures. They had to maintain a TV-friendly lifestyle while dealing with court appearances and ongoing investigations which created constant stress for them. They juggled legal teams, production schedules, and the court of public opinion. This was too much for someone to handle. After more than 10 years, the burden became too heavy and it was clear they had to put an end to it. The idea of continuing the show no longer felt right. Though the network never issued a formal cancellation, it became clear behind the scenes that Alaska, The Last Frontier had run its course and the producers quietly stopped airing it. Perhaps because they knew that with all the legal issues, viewers would boycott the show, and they might have also done it to protect the Discovery Channel's reputation. These reasons sum up the abrupt end of Alaska, The Last Frontier. So Alaska, The Last Frontier didn't end because the Kilchers failed. Instead, it ended because the world changed and they needed to adjust. Between the legal issues and the shifting audience tastes, it was time to move on. And for those who miss the show, the past 11 seasons remain a powerful archive of one family's determination to live on their terms. However, the Kilcher family's legacy endures even though the show has come to an end. What are they up to now? Most of them are active on social media and use their platforms to share occasional updates about homestead life, music, and family. In that sense, the Kilchers, including Atz Lee Kilcher, are still quite popular and are still remembered as one of the most enduring families in the history of reality shows. Now, let's look at Atz Lee's background and personal journey. The life of Atz Lee Kilcher. Atz Lee Kilcher was born on August 26, 1977 in Homer, Alaska. He is one of the stars of the Discovery show Alaska, The Last Frontier, which focuses on the Kilcher homestead established 80 years ago outside of Homer, Alaska on Kachemak Bay. The show tells the story of how he and his family survived the harsh conditions of Alaska without the basic amenities of life. Atz Lee Kilcher was born to his father Atz Kilcher, a singer and Vietnam veteran, and his mother, Leandra Carroll. Atz Lee is the third and youngest child of his parents. His siblings include his brother Shane and his sister Jewel. Jewel is a famous singer, songwriter, actress, musician, and author, nominated for several Grammy Awards and having sold over 30 million albums worldwide. She was raised singing and yodeling as a duo with her father, Kilcher. The genres of her songs are country music, rock music, pop music, and folk music. Lee Kilcher also has a half-brother, Nikos Kilcher, a musician and a teacher who was primarily raised in Oregon by his mother with whom her father had a brief relationship. Atz Lee was raised on a remote homestead surrounded by mountains, woods, and open land. That's where he learned how to live off the land, hunt, fish, and survive in the wild. Music runs in the Kilcher family and Atz Lee is no exception to this gift. He spent much time singing and playing the guitar across the country. He successfully performs on stage despite his choice to live in nature to meet the family's needs. Atz Lee has always considered himself the black sheep of the family. 2 decades ago, he left the farm for a bigger and better life in a modern dwelling. His grandfather Yule took this path in his day when he left for Europe in his youth. Passionate about music, Atz Lee traveled the country with his guitar, playing music, and making friends. A day came when he finally understood that the farm where he was raised was truly the final frontier. He could understand more there than he ever aspired to in an urban world. So, he retraced his steps on his farm, built a cabin by hand, and hasn't left since. Not much has been made public regarding his education and other things surrounding his life. Atz Lee is all about the show that made him popular, and people have often wondered if he even has a life outside the reality show. Atz Lee Kilcher's family is large and includes interesting personalities as family members. They all have one thing or the other that keeps them in the limelight, which makes it all the more interesting to learn. When the Discovery Channel launched Alaska, the Last Frontier in 2011, Lee Kilcher alongside his dad and other family members from the Kilcher clan starred in it. The celebrity family comprises Kilcher's parents Atz Kilcher and Lenedra Carol Kilcher, her father and mother, respectively. His brother Shane Kilcher and his sister Jewel are famous singers. For a long time, the Kilchers didn't feature celebrity singer Jewel Kilcher as a family member until she accidentally appeared in an episode. Lee's uncle Kilcher is also featured in the series and lives with his wife and children on the same family property. Atz Lee Kilcher is married to Jane Kilcher, who is from Homer and lived near Homestead as a child. They tied the knot in the year 2006 and had their wedding renewal in the year 2016, their 10th anniversary at the time. However, it wasn't until after both of them went through unsuccessful marriages that they married each other. Jane was a commercial fisherwoman before meeting Atz through their shared love of music. Jane is skilled in playing the cello, piano, and guitar, while Lee Kilcher can play the upright bass, guitar, harmonica, and other instruments. After their marriage, they moved to the Kilcher homestead where they constructed their cabin. They did not have any children together, but they welcomed each other's children from their previous marriages. Atz Lee has a son named Etienne Kilcher, born in 2001 to his ex-wife Nantia Crescintu. Jane has a daughter named Piper Isolde Casuni, born in 2003 to her ex-husband Dron Casuni. The couple decided to keep their children away from the spotlight as much as possible to protect them from online harassment and criticism. According to his wife, the reason is that the children are too young and cannot withstand the negative comments that the public sometimes makes about them. She added that the children aren't ready to appear on reality TV, but might consider doing so in the future if they choose to. When Etienne turned 18, Jane allowed him to join the show, and he agreed. Since then, Etienne and Piper have been featured in several Alaska, The Last Frontier episodes. In the year 2018, there were rumors that the couple had divorced, but they came out to the public and stated that the rumors were wrong. They were still happily married. However, their marriage was not as idyllic as they made it seem. Behind the scenes, Atz Lee and Jane faced many challenges and controversies that tested their marriage. After 17 years of marriage, Jane Kilcher, a star of Alaska, The Last Frontier, took to Facebook on July 2023 to reveal some deeply personal news that will undoubtedly stun fans of the Discovery series. She announced their divorce and shared that the situation was unfortunate, but it was beyond her control. Losing her best friend is undoubtedly painful, but she remains resolute in moving forward. She did not reveal the reason for their split or the details of the divorce settlement. While Jane publicly shared her statement about the split, Atz Lee has remained silent and has not commented on the matter. The news shocked devoted viewers of the Discovery series, and it was regrettable that the couple decided to split after many years of being together. Atz Lee and Jane were known for their unwavering dedication to each other. Together, they tackled harsh weather, illnesses, and numerous challenges, earning them a reputation as one of the most solid and admirable couples on television. The unexpected nature of this revelation sparked curiosity about the factors that led to this turn of events, as their on-screen bond portrayed a harmonious relationship that viewers greatly admired. As the news spread, fans wondered if any indications or clues hinted at trouble in their marriage. Some people speculated that her black eyes had something to do with their marital trouble, but Jane defended Atz Lee and her family in a Facebook post on 29, 2023. She explained that her black eye was caused by a rifle scope on TV and asked people to leave her kids alone. This incident sparked some hope among fans that Atz Lee and Jane Kilcher might reconcile and give their marriage another chance. However, that was not the case, as Atz Lee and Jane are still very much divorced to this day. What are your thoughts on this? Was Atz Lee Kilcher truly guilty of violations of the Alaskan hunting laws? And do you think the sentence meted out on him was fair? Could there be more to this than the public knows? Let us know your answers in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you found Atz Lee's story as powerful and inspiring as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true stories from the wild and beyond. Before you go, explore the other videos on your screen. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.